Hello, this is Allison Ball, and once again, thank you for letting me do a video um, uh, instead of doing the voice thread. I really appreciate it. I feel like I'll be able to get my point across a little better here. Anyways, I'm just going to go through my outline for assessing the student learning. This was our final project for this class, and I'm just going to go through my steps, my sample of student work. I have my first sample here, and it's from, we use Engage New York, which is our math program, and this is Module 1, Lesson 3, and it's a benchmark of the students' work. And I'm going to show it to you, even though I know it's backwards, and I apologize, but at least you'll be able to see the design process right here, and I'm going to go ahead and read to you what the question is. And the question is, well, the objective is that the students will use the RDW, which is the, with whole brain teaching, we say it's the read the problem, draw a picture to show the problem, write the word problem, and write the number sentence, and or the equation for that problem. And this shows an understanding for what we call the RDW process. And they will have multiple ways of showing. They won't just have to do one type of picture. Over time, we will learn several different ways to show our work. Besides the standard algorithm, we don't do that anymore, as you know. Anyways, the first question that they had to do was, the teacher has 48 folders. She gives 6 folders to the first table. How many folders does she have now? Which is a basic subtraction problem. The other one they might have had was Emma had 45 pencils. 8 pencils are sharpened. How many pencils are not sharpened? Well, the one that I have to show you this first go around was the one about the teacher. The teacher has 48 folders. She gives 6 folders to the first table. How many folders does she have now? So what they learned how to do, and I'm going to show you with my own, is we do a 10 sticks here. So that's showing the 40. And then they do a 5 column, which is 5, 6, 7, 8. And then they cross out the 6, which gets them to their answer. And my person that I was watching do this, they actually did a pretty good job, but they did the read the problem, obviously, the draw the picture. Their number sentence was a little off, which we talk about how in math you can't be a little off. And then they forgot to write their written statement. We did do some reviewing of that. This is something we're still working on all year. I do want to talk about the description of my centered learning goal. Is by the end of the year, students will show 90% mastery of the RDW process to solve word problems. Again, that's read the problem, draw a picture to solve the problem, write an equation or number sentence, and write a word sentence to show the understanding of the RDW process. So, even though this student, this first go around, did draw the picture correctly and they did write the right equation, they would not technically have passed because they didn't follow through with the written answer statement. We're practicing that in a lot of other areas too, about how not to forget little things that can cost you big, throughout school. Instructional decisions. Instructional decision was to pull a smaller group than the small group that I had for more intensive intervention. It was made due to the lack of 90% of more student mastery. In small groups, teachers, I feel, can have more of a hand-on approach and see where the student is getting lost or making mistakes. The decision to allow more time for student discussion and use of manipulatives was also implemented. So we got out, with one of my little girls, I had to go back and talk more about place value, and we got out our place value sticks and practice going back over that before we moved on to the actual word problem. And some of my little friends, I even have to make sure that I'm reading it out loud to them because they maybe some of my best math students, but some of my biggest struggling readers. My measurement tool I used was the curriculum-provided benchmark word problem. Students then created their own benchmark word problems to try and solve. At the end of the year, the district required benchmarks will be given to show their mastery. They have to show that they can pass 3 out of 4 in order to show their mastery. And that's what I'm going to show you what something like this looks like. So we might have, cover up that name. So we might have 4 problems, and the students have to pass at least 3 out of the 4, and they have to do it 2 times in order to show mastery. So they'll have this set of problems, and then it might be on the back, or it might, I usually don't slam them with all these assignments. I usually give them more, give it to them again the next day, and so they have to pass at least 3 out of the 4 the next day too. So they get on their benchmark chart, which I'm not allowed to show, they get a slash if they pass 3 out of 4, and then they get their other slash for their X, and that means they have mastered the benchmark. And that's how my school does it. Don't know that I necessarily agree, but there you go. And they do get the full year. Pardon me. Pardon me. I'm getting over so many ailments I can't keep up. But that's how they keep track. So that is my assessment tool, or that's my data-driven. I give this. They have the whole year to take this. So if I give this to them and they don't pass it, I can watch them progress as if I give it again and see where they're at, what they need help with. And there's different versions of it. So I always look at it to see what version I think is the most student-friendly and decide if I give that to them. And then the student work sample after my intervention, my one little boy and girl that I really worked hard on, because technically they get the whole year to master this, but due to this class, I was working a little more intense with them so that I could see some more mastery. And the next question was, Emma has 45 pencils. 8 pencils are sharpened. How many pencils are not sharpened? So this was a subtraction problem again. And this is going to be a little harder to show. This friend of mine decided to show his picture as in 5 columns. So he did 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And then he decided to go ahead and, well, he started off with the 45, I'm sorry. And then he circled, he circled his sharpened pencils, and then he did X out all of the ones that were not sharpened, which got him 37. To me, that's a lot more work. He and I talked about how there's different strategies we've learned that would probably be a lot quicker and easier for him. But he said at the time he was comfortable with this one, and he got it right, so I can't really argue with that. If we've given him a choice, that's the one he chose, and he got the answer right. He said 37 were not sharpened, 8 were sharpened, so he did a little extra. He did his equation, 45 minus 8 equals 37. And at the bottom, he put Emma has 8 pencils sharpened. Now, he struggles with writing, and so he messed up his sentence at the bottom. So even though we are improving, and he got it right at the top, he answered 37 were not sharpened. Down at the bottom, he said Emma has 8 pencils sharpened. So I would still give this to him as passing, because he did put, he drew the picture. I know he read it. He drew the picture. He wrote the problem. I just had to fill in his writing. And he wrote the word sentence, which I understand you can't read it backwards, but he did. He just kind of wrote something a little wacky at the bottom. So I would, in fact, give that to him. And if this was on a benchmark, one of the 4 benchmark questions, he would, in fact, pass it. What I learned from this process is it reaffirmed what I knew about how students really do benefit from small groups, and they can actually benefit from even smaller small groups. The boy I think I really worked on with 2 boys and 1 girl, and that's much smaller than my normal group of 7 or 8, and they really benefit, and I think they like the attention. Another thing I learned from this process is that students need more time than we have. When I would work with them, then I was shortened time with another group I just don't ever have enough time. I really have, if I want to do it correctly, I have 3 math small groups, and then with this assignment I had 4. So it's just really hard to get to 4 math groups a day. It's just really hard. But if given the time, students will master the skill. If we, like, I know my one friend who still didn't master this assignment for, I'm sorry, did not master this for the KU assignment. I know that she'll have it by the end of the year just because I'm seeing the way that she's maturing and growing. So if it wasn't for this assignment, I know if I were to report back to you in May, she would be passing. I just know it. And the last thing I said that I learned from this process is that students love to show what they have learned and take part in the assessment process. Some of them made up their own assessment questions for one of my centers for fun. Some of the kids that already have nailed this and they know how to do it. And so we spent one day with our whiteboards and markers just solving the problems that our friends invented. And it was fun because a lot of them used names from the classroom or used real life examples that we're used to, like Miss Ball. Instead of teacher, they said Miss Ball, and used student names. So I was glad that we took the time to do that and to let them teach the class. And I even had them put on my microphone and let them be the teacher. So that was fun. So I learned the main thing, I guess I could sum up that I've learned from this assignment is that kids they need smaller groups and they need that one-on-one attention. They need more attention, they need more time, and we just have to be really intentional with our time and with what we are teaching them. All right, thank you. Signing off for good this time. Thanks for all your help.